Welcome to Ibis Weather. This is Sarah. This is the update for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, regarding Hurricane Erin and two other possible storms that we are currently tracking. So let's go ahead and get started with the other two, as there's not a whole lot to go over with them at the moment versus Erin. So we do have a little bit of good news. Well, first, before I get into that, you probably might have seen on the internet, heard about it on social media, about Invest 99L. Well, you may be thinking that is the orange blob in the middle of the screen over here. Well, it isn't, despite it had a higher chance of forming into something. It's actually the one over here closer to Cabo Verde, or Cape Verde, however you prefer to pronounce it. While they only have it as 30% for both 48 hours and 7 days, it is better organized and is looking like it's coming together a little bit nicer, and it will also be less impacted by the wake of Erin as the middle wave will be. So that is why that one's 99L or Invest 99L and the middle one isn't. So the good news about the middle one is it does look like it's going to pull an Erin, only possibly more further out into the middle of the open Atlantic, which is good news. So that is, a positive thing that the East Coast and the Gulf does not seem to have to worry about this one. Can the same be said for Invest 99L? At this point, no. It's still too far away, still too early out to know. We do have, because it is an Invest, they have been starting to run some of the modeling on it, and I will show you those next, where to kind of think into the general direction that it's going to move toward. But let's go ahead and talk about the middle one first. So this one is near the Leeward Islands in the tropic Atlantic. Is over right now, Central Tropical Atlantic. It's produced a much bigger um, area. I kind of think it's a couple different areas competing to see where they can start having a low. And start having circulation organized. It's not being organized very good. So as you've seen with some of the other waves we've seen during our time tracking Erin, they usually start out much wider and then they shrink, 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 shrink until either they completely die off, which is a good chance of those things happening. Maybe not with this one particularly or the next one, but we saw it definitely earlier in the season. And then, of course, for organizing and getting smaller, meaning it's starting to rotate and, starting to have convection and a lower level low circulation going on. This one so far isn't, even though it's got 60% in the next 7 days and only 10% for the next 48 hours. Um, because it is kind of in the wake of Erin, and Erin has grown and become a much bigger storm. There is some welling of the ocean, meaning that she is churning the ocean enough where the cooler waters are coming up to the surface, so it doesn't have quite as warm sea surface temperatures as a wave coming in behind it, because that will give it a chance for the ocean in front of it to heat up and produce those temperatures for more conductive of a hurricane or a tropical system compared to this one. So they are saying tropical depression could form at the end of this week or this weekend. It's going to move westward and then west northwest as it approaches the vicinity on Friday. Vicinity of northern Leeward Island on Friday. Right now, doesn't look like it's going to be much of anything, and does look like it's going to recurve and stay quite offshore from at least the US and the Caribbean. Bermuda, you might have something to watch out a little bit on this, but it might not form into much of anything either. I mean, it might not have the ability to become a humongous storm as Erin has, because again, it's kind of riding her coattails, if you want to put it that way, and has a chance of meeting some harsher conditions and less favorable ones because it's coming directly behind her. And then, of course, for this one, Eastern Tropic Atlantic, as you can see, they mentioned here, AL9999. It's about a few hundred miles south of Cabo Verde Islands. Currently, it's producing these organized showers and thunderstorms. It definitely seems to be creating more convection, which is what is necessarily needed for cyclonic genesis to happen here. Conditions are marginally favorable for additional development over the next couple of days, and as it moves more west, um, towards the end of the week is going to encounter a less favorable development chances after that, they say. So we'll have to wait and see. But this one does seem to have, a higher chance of being possibly named or formed in something a little bit more. Again, 30%. Again, if you remember Erin, when she first kind of came out, she was on the lower side as well. And then she ended up becoming Erin. So we'll have to watch this and see where this one goes. Let's go ahead and look at the models that they do have for the Invest 99L. So this one, I believe, is this might be the GFS. No. Okay, so this is the euro and the global model. So as you can see, is where the Cabo Verde Islands is, and as you can see, kind of taking her off some. One does take her more south, so a little bit less favorable conditions, but most of them seem to show her hooking a little bit more south and heading west. And then for uh, the GFS, again, kind of some even shows her going back towards Africa. That's probably unlikely. Again, right a little bit closer to South America. So we'll have to wait and see. And definitely a wider swath of different pathways that she could go. So, or he, whichever the name will be next on the list for it to possibly get. So that is where we are with Invest 99L. Let's go to the topic of Erin. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. As I mentioned yesterday, and I might have mentioned before, they already have confirmed the National Hurricane Center that the chances and the percentage and odds of possibilities of this happening could be off kilter a little bit because, again, the system of calculations that they use to run this and pull this information is not based on typically on a hurricane the size as she is. She is moving more west and northwest. She is growing. She's going to continue to grow. Her wind field is going to really get bigger, even bigger than she already is. And she's already a decent sized storm. Um, so they're not confident that these are going to be correct, but it's something to look at, something to talk about. So we can say this might be at least a smaller probability that you might see this. You might see higher winds for tropical storm force wind speed probabilities or not, but we'll wait and see. So as you can see, definitely her hurricane force, or sorry, it's not showing hurricane force. Her tropical storm force winds are going to be a much higher chance of you seeing that if you're anywhere near in the middle of where the eye is. So you can see definitely the Bahamas has definitely had some probabilities of seeing that already. Over there close to Myrtle Beach and over there close to where Myrtle Beach or South Carolina and North Carolina touch and have a border, share a border, you might have a higher chance of seeing some. Of course, North Carolina, the Cape Hatteras area, and of course, just in general, their shoreline, Outer Banks definitely has a higher percent, even a little bit more inland. So just the coastal region in general is probably a good thing. And of course, Virginia and Delaware Peninsula, so Delaware and Maryland as well. And even you can see a little bit over there by Massachusetts might have some as well. And Atlanta, Canada, you also have a smaller percentage of that too. So again, it might actually be a bigger percentage just based off of how the storm is moving. Kind of, she's been doing more of the West jog for today, which we'll touch on in a little bit. And of course, like I said, they're not confident in these numbers or percentages, just again based on the fact that she's going to be so big, and they don't have that typically what they base this off of. So calculations might be off. Okay, so let's go ahead, look at the earliest reasonable time of arrival for possible tropical storm force winds. So again, not hurricane force winds. So Tuesday night, you'll see possibly over there mid Florida, off the coast of mid Florida and Georgia, into Wednesday morning. So you guys will definitely have swells tonight and tomorrow, possible coastal flooding. And then, of course, you see over there North Carolina and Virginia and Delmarva Peninsula. You guys will start to have feeling possible impacts Wednesday morning through Thursday. New Jersey and on up to Mid Atlantic from Thursday morning until Thursday night, and then of course New England from Thursday night to Friday morning. Bermuda, you will start feeling it Thursday night or Thursday morning to Thursday night. Again, possible reasonable earliest arrival times. Give or take, she has slowed down. She's kind of picking up speed again, so we'll have to kind of wait and see the timing of this. But then again, this is just a prediction, not actual signs of when you can expect her to arrive. It's not exactly an appointment she's scheduled for. Okay, and let's look at, I like to show this about her cumulative wind history. It definitely does show you, again, how small she was and how much she has grown. So if you can see over the past few days, her wind field has definitely grown. It's definitely noticeable. You can even see with her hurricane force winds really started growing in the field over there, about a little bit northeast of the Cakes of Turks and Caicos, and of course the Bahamas. So you can definitely see that has happened, and she has definitely grown and will continue to grow. So we do expect to see this actually get bigger as she heads north and northeast. What's interesting is just kind of see, what it looked like from the start when she was first formed to where we are now. And it'll be even more interesting to see how much that grows the next few days. And then, of course, for the cone, which everybody loves. Again, cone, I don't think I've been saying this for the past 2 days, but I'm going to say this as a reminder again. The cone is just talking about the probability of where the wall might go. Again, every hurricane wobbles, it moves, it can wobble east, it can wobble west. I mean, in theory, probably could wobble south, and of course, it can wobble north. That's always a possibility, but this is where they're thinking that I will most likely go. Of course, in the hatched area and the wider the cone, more uncertainty about where it will go. More narrow the cone and solid the cone is a better idea of where it will be. So you can definitely see it, her turning away from Mid Atlantic and the Northeast and Atlantic or Canadian Atlantic, which is good news. Of course, again, like I said, she will grow and she will be a humongous storm. So really won't feel that much different. Again, entire East Coast from Florida all the way up to Maine, and of course, over there in Canada, you guys will be dealing with incredible wave heights and waves coming in and rip currents. So again, as I've mentioned before, probably not the week to go to the beach or swim. It's definitely dangerous. We've already heard, I think there was over like 30 rescues for rip currents just up and down the East Coast alone yesterday. It's probably gone up today. I know some beaches are closing down technically the ocean for swimming, so make sure you pay attention to any flags, and I'm sure the lifeguards will be out and about on duty as well to watch. But don't put your own life at risk, and don't put other people's lives at risk for those who'd have to come save you, especially the Coast Guard. Um, and you might know if you're fortunate enough to be saved by Coast Guard, but that's not a guarantee with these rip currents, so play it safe. Um, so as you can see, so she'll be over there on by the southern portion of the coast of Georgia and North Florida Wednesday afternoon, starting to be over there closer to her closest approach they're thinking possibly for North Carolina will be Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. As you can see at Thursday, they definitely notice it's when she'll kind of hook and go more northeast. So right now she is more north northwest direction, and that will continue. There is a weakness in the ridges, which is where she's kind of tucked in right now. They think that will continue until she gets up, and there is currently a trough that's over there by the Canadian Atlantic, at least Canadian area, and then the upper level wind will hook her up when she gets closer to parallel to North Carolina and take her out to sea. That way, then is what they're thinking, and they're still holding on to that prediction and what they're thinking. And so far, she does seem to be starting to make those moves toward that. So we do have every reason to think that that will be the case right now. But again, if you are in coastal North Carolina or even like Virginia or even Maryland, we can't rule out that there won't be more watches and warnings posted up for points north of you guys. So if you are a little bit more inland, maybe a little bit closer into coastal, you're in an area that they consider coastal, so you have inlets or creeks or canals, it's probably not a bad idea just to make sure that you take tonight and tomorrow just to stock up on some of the stuff that you may need, even if you're not in an evacuation area. I know right now, which is again could change. I don't think right now Virginia is under any storm surge watch, which is good for Virginia. Can't say the same for North Carolina right now, unfortunately, but right now North Carolina is the only ones that seem to have mandatory evacuation orders again for Zone A, for our Hyde and Dare counties, which we'll also kind of touch on that in a little bit later too in this video. So just make sure even if you're not in those counties and you're a little bit more inland, you're a little bit worried, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and stock up and make sure you have what you need just in case she does end up riding more west and the eye gets a little bit closer. I think what some of the models are showing possibly that her eye could be, 150 to 200 miles off the coast of North Carolina, which is quite close when you really think about it. It's scary. Of course, we don't expect her I will go over you guys or her hurricane force winds. Of course, again, she deviates and does her own thing, which we know she's been kind of doing all along. And again, we've had other storms that have done that as well. That's a possibility. Can't rule it out, but it does seem unlikely right now. At the very least, she's moving in the right direction, which is good news. Um, but still, definitely too close to comfort, I think, for a lot of people, especially North Carolina, who are having to deal with the warnings and watches right now. And of course, Virginia. And of course, you guys but north above Virginia, you guys might end up seeing some of that coming down too. We can't rule it out right now. Okay, let's talk about where she is currently. So right now her maximum sustained winds is 105, so she's a cat 2. So she was a cat 3, went down to a cat 2, and has stayed a cat 2. We'll touch a little bit about how she's looking and some of the issues that she's been dealing with. She's kind of gotten a little more sloppier, which is a good thing. Some might argue, of course, there is the argument of, well, sloppier storm could move more west. Have we seen that today at the moment? Not really. I do believe they're having the hurricane hunters fly into her tonight for more information, so we'll see if that changes. But right now, she's been moving north northwest as what we've been expecting, which is good. I'm sure the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, and of course, the Lesser Antilles are probably very grateful that they're not having to put up with her anymore. Of course, you're probably still seeing some of the swells from her, but still, that's good. So she's moving at 10 miles per hour. At one point, I think her slowest, she was 7 or 8 miles per hour. So she's starting to pick up a little bit forward speed. Once she kind of gets hooked onto the trough closer over there, parallel to North Carolina, she will pick up speed, which you can kind of see here on the timing of on the cone. Right now, it does not look like they expect her to regain major status, which would be Cat 3 or above. Again, we'll touch on that in a moment, a little bit later. Um, but still keeping hurricane intensity up all the way through Saturday afternoon. So that is worth noting, of course, she has done her own thing before, so we'll have to wait and see. But right now, they're not expecting that, which is good news. They do mention it's kind of hard to predict her intensity right now just because of her structural issues that she's been experiencing and just different factors coming into play here as well. She's definitely been kind of a rough storm to track. Let's see here. Okay, let's go over here. So this is going to be your storm surge watch and warning graphic. This is kind of an experimental, so it's not perfect by a long shot, but you can definitely see over here off the coast of North Carolina, all your barrier islands are definitely in storm surge warning right now. Let's see, can we? Okay, it's not going to show us that, so maybe hold on. As that last one was experimental, obviously that means that it's not great. So this is more of the peak storm surge, as we've been seeing. So in everything in blue, they're expected up to 3 feet, and then up to 4 feet in everything that is yellow. You can definitely see some of the inlets and um, intercoastal definitely expect to flood as well. Of course, a little bit up there into Virginia as well. And then let's look at the rainfall forecast. Now, I know again last year with what some of the South has had to deal with Hurricane Debbie before, and then of course Hurricane Helene afterwards, and even Milton. There was a lot of heavy rain, particularly Helene was most notable for that, definitely for eastern North Carolina. Again, you guys should be okay. Eastern North Carolina and what West North Carolina, not Eastern, sorry. West North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee, you guys should be fine. Obviously, it looks like that there might be some rain expected over there by Beaufort, South Carolina, into the Georgia, Hinesville, and Brunswick area. Is that directly related to Erin? Can't really say that right now. It's just that time of the year where you just rain. So, and also you can see a little bit of South Florida having some rain showers as well. This is not expected to be a rainmaker for the coastline. Again, most of her bands and rain showers should stay offshore, well offshore, which is good. She might get a little bit close to Hatteras, where you guys might see a little bit. It's possible a band could stray or two. You guys could get it. I mean, that can happen. Can't rule it out. You can't really say anything is not possible with a hurricane, and especially one that has definitely been behaving in the fashion that she has chosen to behave in. But you guys should mostly stay dry, which is good news. So again, this is mostly just a coastal concern and issue where storm surge, wave heights, and coastal flooding is most of a concern. Maybe a little wind. Again, it kind of depends on how much she wobbles. Does she wobble more west? Does she wobble more east? We'll just have to wait and see. Again, it's kind of too early to know at the moment. But it is expected that she won't be a huge rainmaker, which I'm sure everyone can take a collective breath of relief, sigh of relief with that, for sure. And of course, the key messages for Hurricane Erin. She's expected to produce life-threatening surf currents all along the beaches from the Bahamas up to the East Coast, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada. Um, so we do know that, of course. Did I mention? I don't remember if I mentioned. Obviously, right now, the only places that have any watches and warnings. So you have a tropical storm watch for north of Duck, North Carolina, up to a certain point in Virginia, and then of course in Bermuda, and then everything from Duck to. Uh, Hold on, let me go ahead and find that again. Since I had it and I can't remember, this is what happens real time when you are recording with so much information. Um, Beaufort or Beaufort again, I think it's probably pronounced Beaufort. Beaufort Inlet, so to Duck, North Carolina, which includes Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. You guys are in a tropical storm warning, and then of course storm surge warning from Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina. Let's see if they mentioned. I don't think I mentioned it yet. How far out her winds are. Okay, so again, she's a large hurricane. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 80 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend up onward out to 230 miles. So again, if depending on how close she tracks to North Carolina and possibly Virginia, you guys might be dealing with a little bit more for some of the outer bands, but again, right now it doesn't seem to be the case. And again, she's not supposed to be a major rainmaker, which is good news. Obviously, again, so anywhere from Atlantic Canada down to Bermuda, and of course, East Coast and Bermuda, or I mentioned Bermuda, Bahamas, we will be dealing with terrible rip currents and surf. So again, listen to your lifeguards, your local authorities, and pay attention to beach warning flags. It's probably better just to stay home at this point. Storm surge flooding and tropical storm conditions are expected for the Outer Banks of North Carolina beginning late Wednesday or Wednesday night, where tropical storm and storm surge warnings are currently in effect. Again, Dare County and Hyde County are both having mandatory evacuations for Zone A, which we'll touch on in a minute. As again, I think you guys should be already, most of you should hopefully be on your way out, if not already out of those areas, because there has been some reports of some overwash currently, which we'll get to next as well. Of course, this will lead to significant beach erosion and making some roads possibly impassable for, possibly up to a few days, if not longer, depending on however long it takes for them to repair that. Tropical storm conditions are possible in Bermuda Thursday and Friday. Of course, they say interest along Mid Atlantic and southern New England coast should also monitor, as strong winds are possible Thursday or Friday. Again, going off of wherever her eye tracks. If it tracks more west, then probably. If she tracks more east, you're probably a little bit less likely, but they still might have at least tropical storm watches issued later on for you guys, so pay attention. Now we can get a little bit more into the visual stuff. So this is her current satellite presentation. If you saw earlier today on YouTube Shorts or on Facebook, you have noticed that she definitely had more of a lopsided system. She was definitely more formed over here and was heavily being sheared on the west side. She's still being a little bit squished on that right now, but this afternoon and early evening, she has started firing up more convection. So she looks like she's starting to fill in. So she might be maybe possibly working towards strengthening. Can't rule that out right now. Again, we don't think she'll be a major hurricane, so Cat 3 or above cannot be completely ruled out with her history and just how everything is. No, even they said they're not confident necessary on being able to say what you can expect category she will be. And even in the best case, in the best scenarios with some of the past storms, they have not been able to get that completely nailed down perfectly either. It's just one area that it just hasn't been great in development for figuring it out yet. Hopefully in time that will happen and change, but she's definitely looks like she's trying to fire up and improve and do better than she was earlier today with her structure, which we'll get a little bit to why that was the case because I have an image for that. Which brings me over here to current wind shear. So you can see where they have her label, again, category 2. So you can see the color, anything from purple up into yellow is low. Moderate is kind of from like a yellow green up to a dark green, and then high is from a light blue to a black. So you can definitely see there's a little bit of higher shear up to her north, then of course lower over there, low to moderate to her southwest. So that's definitely kind of what's making her lopsided and pushing her. And if you actually watch some of the satellite views, because of the clouds being pushed away, pushed more east, does give her the illusion of a little bit of a wobble to the east. But as she's filling in more and trying to get better structurally, that should start being less apparent, less visible, and mis communicating that information to anyone who is watching. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there has been definitely some information already about why and kind of defending why the evacuation order has. I know some people are not fans of them. They get annoyed as they feel like sometimes they are done, not necessarily for the best interest of the citizens of where they are issued. This is certainly not the case of that. This is definitely North Carolina, here heeding what the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center is telling them, and this is a good reason why. So this is one image from earlier today from North Carolina dot. So this is the people kind of monitor the roads. This is on one of the barrier islands, so this is the north end of Buxton, showing how they already started having overwash onto, I believe this would be, yes, North Carolina Highway 12, which is one of the areas that they definitely was why they're concerning about getting people evacuated off the barrier islands. So she's a few days out. You guys won't start really feeling her experiences until Wednesday or Thursday. And if she's already causing you guys to have overwash and some flooding, you know it's going to get worse in time. So this is definitely a good reminder to why they have issued that. And then this is another view of Buxton, North Carolina, as well, for the same reason. Again, so you can definitely see the overwash coming over the roads and causing concern to why they need to make sure that no one is left behind if they're not able to get to you guys in a rescue. So, if in doubt or you know anyone who's in doubt, show them these images. I do have them both shared on uh, my Facebook page, which I will have linked in the comments along with some other information of my YouTube video for you guys as well. If you want to share this information and show people as a reminder as to why you should evacuate in this zone. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Hyde County and Dare County, North Carolina, of the Outer Banks both have issued mandatory evacuations for Zone A. Um, as I will touch next about what their county is saying. This is what Hyde County has posted about shelter information that they have. This was open, so this is linked onto again my YouTube um, not YouTube. This is on my Facebook page, which I will link in the comments. It's also linked into my profile here on YouTube as well. If you want to read this, but it's currently Warren County Parks and Rec at 113 Wilcox Street in Warrenton, North Carolina. It is open this morning. It can hold up to 400 people. It's telling people go ahead and bring up to 7 days of clothes and medicine with you, and it's also a pet-friendly shelter, which is so important. And I'm so glad to see that they're making sure to notify and let people know of that. That is very important information, as many people refuse to evacuate if they can't bring their pets. So this should be a PSA to anyone who possibly runs shelters or areas that could be shelters. Make sure you guys are being pet friendly. So if you do have pets and you do go there, make sure you bring your proper paperwork with you and probably personal identification information, like birth certificates, marriage licenses, insurance information, all of that, and of course your pets' vaccinations, etc., and registration as well. As for Dare County, as of right now, it does not appear that they have any American Red Cross approved shelters in Dare County. They might also be suggesting people go to the same one that Hyde County is having people, as Hyde County mentioned, that is the one that they're sending people to or advising people to go to. Um, but I'm sure your current TV station will obviously let you guys know if you guys do get anyone opened or one by American Red Cross in the next day or two. As you guys work on to evacuate. And let's go ahead and talk about spaghetti models, which I feel like everybody likes to talk about. So this is the euro and global models for it. So again, very good tight consensus of keeping her eye off the coast of any country and any place, so including North Carolina up to New England, only to Canada, and of course Bermuda. And it gets wider as she goes more toward the cooler waters of the northern Atlantic. So that is good news. Again, can we rule out wobble to the west, to the east? No, we can't. Again, hurricanes are going to wobble. We know this. It's a scientific fact. Not much can be said or done about it. We don't need to freak out if we do see that. You guys definitely have some miles, couple hundred miles to buffer you guys out, hopefully, and she won't make her closest approach to you guys on Virginia and North Carolina. And then this is, of course, the GFS. Again, very tight. Does seem like some, again, one maybe a little more outlier to closer to the coastline, a little bit more west, more so than east. Um, but again, definitely less consensus about agreeing about where she'll go. Her and center will grow in the northern Atlantic. But again, doesn't have any currently going over any land in North America or Bermuda, which is good. And then let's go ahead and talk a little bit about steering currents. Again, kind of goes with the wobbling of a hurricane. We see a lot of people who talk about, oh, what if the current doesn't pick her up? What if it doesn't come close enough? What if she's too weak? Again, as I mentioned earlier, they say the weaker the storm, the more west they go, etc. That could very well be true in some cases. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. So if you can look at it here, this is the steering currents. So you can see there is a high pressure over the US, and then, of course, the high pressure over here in the Atlantic. And you can definitely see a little bit of the weakness forming over here for her, where she is tracking. So we do think she'll continue to go north and a little bit more northeast. And then once she is picked up by the trough that's over here, she will be taken out faster toward the open northern Atlantic. So that is where they're thinking. That's why they're basing uh, their current forecast predictions and models off of that. So I thought that'd be a little fun and interesting to show, since I'm sure you've seen some of the stuff be shared on the internet and they don't do a super good job in labeling. Obviously, I'm not saying that I'm the greatest at this myself. I'm kind of also learning as I go along, but I feel like this one does make it a little bit more clear for everyone. So again, to wrap up this video, important topics to go ahead and go over. Again, North Carolina and Virginia, you guys do have watches and warnings currently in effect. Bermuda, you have watches as well. Uh, North Carolina's Dare and Hyde counties still under evacuation order, mandatory for Zone A. If you do not know your zone, I will have a link in the comment below for you to enter your address in North Carolina to find out. If Virginia does decide to issue any evacuation orders, I will be sure to get that information and also share that on my social media platform on Facebook and YouTube posts on my channel, so you guys can make sure to follow me on both areas. If you guys want the latest updates, we'll continue to track her. I don't think anyone's going to really breathe a sigh of relief until she is over there in the northern Atlantic away from everyone. It's going to be an interesting storm to watch. Again, we do have two other areas currently to watch. The middle one, we don't think it's going to be really much of an issue at all. Probably will copy very closely to Erin's path. The other one, Invest 99L, we'll have to wait. It's kind of too early to know where she'll go, she'll form or do. We'll have to wait and see. Time will tell. But she is labeled as the invest versus the middle one not. And I mentioned as well on my Facebook page, I do have information about the Hyde County's shelter information that they had published. And currently, as a reminder, Dare County does not have any of that, so they may be telling people to go to the same place. If that changes, I will again give you guys an update on that. So again, if you are in North Carolina, or Virginia, or Bermuda, take tonight and tomorrow to make sure that you have everything you need in case of bad impacts from the storm, even though the eye should not hit any of you guys. We want to make sure you guys have enough water, clean bottled water. Again, with storm surge and coastal flooding, it's possible it could contaminate you guys' community water systems. So you definitely want to make sure you have that, even if you are evacuating. It's not a bad idea because can't really control how the water treatment facilities work and how far they all go. Make sure you have flashlight, make sure you have shelf stable food, a way to open and possibly cook it. So if you use a charcoal grill, make sure you have charcoal and a way to fuel and light it. If it's a gas grill, make sure you have gas. Again, if you run a gas generator, make sure you have gas, or if it's a generator that is basically a battery that you just charge, make sure you take time to charge that out fully. Battery packs for your cell phones and computers and tablets, make sure you have those charged. Any important information, personal information, things that you want to keep safe and tight with you if you're going to evacuate, or if you're just concerned about possible coastal flooding, put in a water safe container and put it high up to keep it safe. Um, so those are important. And since remember, we can't again rule out anything north of Virginia from possibly having any watches or warnings issued for you guys. We'll just have to wait and see. So Mid Atlantic, Southeast, or Southern New England, be prepared and watch and monitor. Make sure everybody who's on East Coast avoid any of the ocean and beaches if you can. Don't put your life and lives of others in danger by going and trying to swim or surf. I know Atlantic Coast does not get some of these great waves to surf, but is a hurricane really a time to do that? I would say no, it isn't. So play it safe, protect yourself, protect the lives of first responders as well with that. And again, if you are in an evacuation zone, make sure you are indeed evacuating. There's no guarantee that, if you stay and something happens, that anyone will be able to come and rescue you. So you do want to make sure you are following all local authorities' advice that they give you guys in the public uh, during, before, during, and after Erin passes by you guys. Um, Follow a trusted source that you guys may like. That, of course, I advise listen to the National Hurricane Center and NOAA and the National Weather Service. You can't go wrong with them. Yes, they're human and things can be incorrect at times, but again, I mean, a hurricane is going to hurricane. It's going to do what it wants to do. There's not much that they can really do to stop that. Don't get caught up in the hype of social media. I will be here to continue to post updates about Erin until she is long gone, and then, of course, any of the other possible storms that might pop up as well. So please feel free to subscribe and to follow me here on YouTube and or on Facebook. And until then, I'll talk to you guys later.